Right, we are talking. This blog is going to be about. It's a work-related blog. It's something that maybe not everybody would need to associate with this because they often don't always work in that environment. But there's a part of me that always says, well, you're working in a shop, and it's always been the case that the customers are always right. The customers are always your first priority, and yes, in a way they are. I do think that sometimes, but there are times when I have this niggling feeling about why certain things have to always be about the customers, because I'm sure it happened to me once. I can't quite remember. It probably did. I just don't remember too much. And it was always, and this is where I think I did remember they weren't very happy. And this comes to me at some point that you have to understand this, because this is something I've always thought in my head about. If people experience this situation when they're working in a shop, right, you have to tell them nicely about this. And it's something to do with basically delivery, or more or less to do with finding stock that you cannot get to at that moment in time. An example would be, let's say you've got a warehouse, and in the warehouse the delivery comes in, and you've put all your delivery in your warehouse, and right at the back could be one pallet with loads of drink on it. It's got like the cheap Coca-Cola on it and stuff like that, and it's all the way at the back, and you can't get to it. You know you can't get to it, right? Because to get to it you would have to move 3 or 4 pallets or 5 pallets, or you would have to literally, you know, and you know that you couldn't very well break down all the other pallets that quickly to get to it, so you would have to wait until, you know, you get to that stage where you can actually get to it. There's no way around it whatsoever, right? It could be that the drink is all the way down the bottom of that pallet. But the worst thing is when you've got people who come into the shop, customers who come in and they'll say, right, they've gone to the shelf, they can't find any Coca-Cola that they want, and they ask us nicely if we've got any in stock. And I would go to the warehouse and say, and look, I would come out and say, I'm sorry, but we do have some in stock, but we can't get to it because it's all the way at the back of our warehouse, and we can't actually get to it because it would take us like a while to get around moving all the pallets out, and then we'd have to take everything off the top of that pallet. But we would advise the customers that we're sorry at this time, we can't get to it, but if you come back later or something like that, we hopefully will have it on the shelf, because, you know, we will get to that stage where our staff can actually get it out. And I think this happened to me once, and I remember the customers having a little bit of a complaint because we had some in stock but we couldn't get to it, and therefore they had a bit of a complaint because they weren't able to get what they want. And it pisses me off when something like that happens, a situation like that happens, when you know you've got something stock in the warehouse but you just can't get to it because it's all the way at the back. And you know, some people say, you know, but I would never advise that I would be wanting to go out of my way to spend all that time by saying I've got to get the pump truck to get all these pallets out of the way, moving them out, which is going to take, you know, a bit of time, and then having to open up a pallet of case, move the stock somewhere, which putting it on the floor is not a foreseeable thing. If you haven't got a trolley to put it on, where do you put it? And that's where you've got to, you know, and that's the hardest thing to have in that situation when you're working. And sometimes people will say that the customers are always right, and I don't think they are in that, because they expect that if you've got something in stock, you expect that you go back into the warehouse and get it. And I don't believe that sometimes in situations like this, the customers are not always right, and you have to tell them kindly that we do have it in stock but we can't get to it at the moment because of what it is. And that is one of those things. It's a bit like saying when you have offers on, because we would put offers out, or we used to basically put offers out a day before they were going on offer. And you know, sometimes people would complain because they're paying more to buy that item today than what they would have done tomorrow when it's going on offer, and they would complain about that. And I'm like, well, there's nothing we can do about that. We're very sorry about that, but we're, you know, and And another one that gets me is also with offers when they say, oh, you've got offers for something like Walker's Crisps. Let's say Walker's 6-pack crisps are going to be going on offer. They're 99p. You know, they might be going on offer for say 75p per pack. Right, it's a cheap deal going on that they're going to be offering 6-pack of Walker's Crisps so much, right? On offer. Now, it might be that a typical supermarket might only have so many in stock. Like, on their shelf they might have cheese and onion, it might have ready salted salt and vinegar, it might be roast chicken, smoky bacon, and prawn cocktail. Now, we understand that they might be the only ones we sell. They are the only ones that are on the shelf in the offer that we have. Despite all varieties are labelled clearly on the thing, where Worcester sauce or spicy, whatever they are, it might be something like cheese and bacon are all on the offer. And that's where they might moan again, because somebody might come into the store and say, I'm intrigued by your offer of Walker's Crisps, but I would like to know if you had any cheese and bacon 6-pack in. And we might advise them and say we don't actually have any in stock, or we are not going to be getting any in stock. And that's where some people might again start moaning by saying, we thought you were a supermarket having on the offer, but why have an offer if you can't have all varieties? And that sort of gets me a little bit, because I'm sort of going, well, I can't help it if our supermarket has never chosen to sell that item, because all supermarkets are different. They can't sell everything. We only had the foreseeable space for so many bits, and that was right. Sometimes offers are there for certain things, but things like Walker's Crisps, if they're 6-pack, there are so many varieties out there. Sometimes the supermarket doesn't have a shelf to actually put all of the varieties of Walker's Crisps actually on the shelf, and therefore we probably never always had all varieties come in. It's easy for us to say that if we're looking at, you know, a variety like, we might not have a label on the normal section for something like steak and onion. So, but they might come in on the delivery, because they're coming as part of a promotional offer, and therefore on the promotional end we would put steak and onion with other flavours. But it's a fact that, you know, and people could do, you know, we understand people can buy them. Once the offer comes off, we have to find somewhere to put the steak and onion crisps, whether we make a new label for them and stick them on the normal shelf with the crisps or not. It's a fact that when you get an offer where we don't have none come in whatsoever, there's no label whatsoever for it in the normal crisp section for a flavour like cheese and bacon, people moan that they want to buy cheese and bacon in this offer and they can't, and we just say, well look, we can't do it. We understand that other supermarkets might, of the same company, might have cheese and bacon on their shelf and in the offer of the Walker's Crisps. We just don't seem to have any coming in the delivery, and we can't do that. There's nothing we can do about it. So that gets me a little bit moaning, but just a few bits and pieces that, you know, you sort of think in your mind, if this ever happens when you go into a supermarket, how would you feel? And you've just got to be calm to the customers and say, look, we can't do this and that, and hopefully you understand. Anyway, enough of my random blogging. I will speak to you later. Bye bye.